Alright guys, so now I want to show you how to create a actual basic rudimentary web server in Node.js. So let's go ahead and create a file here which we're going to say create a web server.js, and then inside of here we're going to go ahead and make use of some of the stuff that we've learned so far, which is var fs equals require. We're using the file system library. We're also going to use a new one called HTTP, which is another built-in one for Node.js. So we'll say require HTTP. All right, and then now we can say HTTP dot, and then use a built-in create server function. And then inside of here, we're going to pass in a request and response object and use our fat arrow function or syntax here. So now we can say, let's go ahead and return, when we make a request, we want to return a good response. So we're going to say write head, and then we're going to pass a 200, which is a valid response for a website. But then we're also going to set the headers that are being returned. So we're going to say content type. And this is pretty low level for like just basic HTTP and everything. But we're going to say text HTML. So if you've ever seen like headers being sent whenever you use Chrome or anything like that, I mean, this is ultimately what we're doing. We're saying, hey, we got your request, and now we're going to return a response of type text HTML. So that way the browser knows how to render it, because if it's HTML, it'll know to render it as HTML. But if it's like JSON or just a plain text, then it's not going to do that. So let's go ahead and say if request.url equals just /, which means the root directory, like the main, like if we have a website which is hipstercode.com, like hipstercode is going to be /, that is like the home page. So if it's hipstercode.about, then obviously that's the about page and everything. But in this case, it's just a /, which means the root directory. Now we're going to use the file system library and say create read stream. And this is something where we're going to use a built-in dir name. And what dir name is? The directory name for where the project, where this file is located. So this is the directory name, which is the main directory here. So that's going to return this directory. So we can use that, and it makes it very easy to then transport this code elsewhere, because all they have to do is put like a templates folder, and then we're going to have an index.html. So let's go ahead and since you can see, okay, templates folder, we don't have a templates folder right now, so let's go ahead and create a folder that we're going to call templates. And inside here, we're going to go ahead and create this index.html. And the index.html is simply going to have one bit of HTML which says hello. We'll just say, we'll be a little bit more creative, Node.js server. All right, so this is a simple HTML. And going back to our creator web server, so you can see it's going to look for a templates directory, which is right here, and it's going to look for index inside the templates directory, which is right there. Now we need to say .pipe, which is piping the response back to the client. All right, so right now we don't have any sort of else condition. Like we would want to do if else, like, because you could do a switch statement actually on your URLs if you wanted to here, but we're not going to do that right now. But now we're going to say .listen, and we're telling it, where do I want you to listen? I'm going to listen on port 8000, and then the second argument here is going to be our localhost address. So that way when we're launching our server, this is the localhost address, and use port 8000 of localhost. And then let's go ahead and give a console message, so we can say, hey, console.log server started on port 8000, and we'll do an exclamation mark to get people excited. All right, there we go. So now let's go ahead and go to our let's see, here's our example. So we're going to say node, what do we call this thing? Call it create a web server. So node dot create a web server.js. All right. So now you can see server started on port 8000. So if I open up a browser and I go over to our localhost address and I go to port 8000, hello Node.js server, and you can see that this is actually using HTML. So if we look at the page source, you can see it's actual HTML. It's also rendered in this large bold text as such. And if you don't believe me, you can go in and make changes to your index.html. This is a paragraph And we'll even say a href equals alright, click me. This is old school HTML right there where it's like click me so you can get a virus on your computer. But instead you're going to go to the awesome website Hipster Code, which is the site that I own, so I definitely recommend you guys go out there and take a look at it. If you would, please support me. I get paid on the ads and everything, so the more blogs and everything you read, the better I do. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look here. And you can see that we now have some HTML going on. And if I were to click on this HTML, it takes you over to Hipster Code. So it's real HTML. It's being rendered by the server. So now we have a server listening at localhost port 8000. So now you want to go out and build your own Node.js web framework, bare minimum. You can do that. You look at web frameworks written in Node, which includes like sales.js and express.js and everything. And this is ultimately what it's about. They're using Node.js's built-in capabilities and then providing a lot of convenient mechanisms here. But here you can see if all you were doing was rendering regular HTML, like you don't need like a template engine. You don't even need a React or an Angular if you don't want to. Depending on how how sophisticated your needs are, you may or may not need all that extra weight and learning curve and everything. You could just simply watch my tutorial, subscribe to my channel, and have your own server running for basic projects out there. Have 1,500 projects like this running on one server and charging each one of your customers money to host their website for them. So anyway, that's just my thought.